What's up, Go community? This is Scott with the Gaming Outsider. On this week's episode, CB, Zach, and myself discuss what we in our community believes to be the perfect length of a video game. We'll also talk about the upcoming games revealed at the DC Fandom event, and new games discussed include Battletoads on Xbox, and we finish up with 3 PC games, one of which has a pretty substantial emotional impact on one of our writers. This is the Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 309 of the Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. It's Monday, August 24th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me are my friends. First off, the guy who's probably the most excited between the three of us about the DC Fandom event, Mr. Zach Parkerson.
Oh, so I put it on at work. You know, like how at a bar you put on sports games? I had on the DC Fandom all day.
Did you have it like on the actual one for all the customers to watch?
Yeah, and I turned off the cafe music and turned up DC Fandom.
That's amazing. Also joining us, the guy who actually beat Battletoads this week, Chris Behrensmeyer.
Yeah, buddy.
Looking forward to hearing you talk about that. And it's been a week, guys. We had an awesome community game night with our listeners this weekend. Kudos to our community managers who put that together. It was an awesome time. I cannot wait to do it again. We need to... Fall Guys is all I want to play. That is just so much fun, so much laughter. Zach, I didn't get to be in a room with you. Did you have fun doing it as well?
Yeah, a bunch of fun with Nate Wilcox, Nate Lucas, and Spencer Cushing. Yeah,
it is.
I mean, I don't want to brag, but I might have been the best person there. But
you weren't as good as Jacob.
No one is.
He got 4 crowns in one sitting. I mean, it was just incredible. I couldn't even get. I got second a couple times, but that stupid hexagon game always gets me every single time. I just cannot figure that one out. But we need to do that more often. Like, not even make it a scheduled event. Just, hey, who wants to play Fall Guys tonight? Let's just make that happen because it was an absolute blast.
I played the very next night with Nate.
Did you? That's right. I wasn't available. I was crashed, ready to go to bed. But I promise I will play with you guys more in the near future because it's just so funny.
So I was thinking, is the only game we've played together since the Go? Is that World War Z?
I think so. World War Z is the only game we played together.
Well, all 3 of us played that, though, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, that was fun while it lasted. But speaking of the DC Fandom event, let's go ahead and jump into the week's news. I know everybody wants to talk about DC, but we got another trailer that dropped this week for a game called Martha is Dead. And then, of course, Batman Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Zach, I'm not even going to give CB a shot here. Where do you want to start?
Oh, that's not very nice of CB. I guess Gotham Knights, because that's one we pretty much already knew, right?
Yeah. We did. We didn't know what it was. And you're going to have to give me the rundown because I only recognized Robin, Nightwing, and Batgirl.
Well, I mean,
that's Red Hood.
That's 70. Yeah, it's 3 out of 4. That's not bad.
Okay, is Red Hood the other one?
Right, Red Hood, Jason Todd. He was killed by the Joker, brought back by the Lazarus Pit. He does not have the hesitation to put bullets in fools that the other Bat kids do.
Is this the spoiler alert from Arkham Knight character, or is this... Am I confusing?
Oh, I mean, I guess so, but it's not... The game's not even in the same continuity, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay. I wasn't saying for the sake of spoilers. I was saying I'm trying to connect the dots.
It is that same character.
Okay.
Yes. Who they, interviews were like, no, it's definitely not Jason Todd.
Did they actually come out and say it's not in the same continuity?
They did, yes.
Okay. Because I missed that.
They did, and then weirdly Suicide Squad is in the same continuity. Yeah, tell me how that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
So what did you think? Because this is the one that we got what looks to be a little bit of gameplay. Not necessarily... I don't know, like you didn't get like 5 minutes of gameplay, but some of the shots look like it was the player controlling the characters. What do you think of this? Because I got mixed reviews from your Twitter comments, Zach.
Well, yeah, and probably my text messages, right? I was very excited. The premise is super cool, that it's just all the Bat sidekicks with, Batman Dead or whatever. Right. That's awesome, man. The Court of Owls, which I'm sure is one of my favorite Batman storylines. If not the best Batman storyline. But it's the gameplay. I was watching out of the corner of my eye at work, making mochas, and I thought it was just Arkham Combat, but then I watched it as not Arkham Combat, and that is definitely disappointing.
How so? How is it different from Arkham Combat?
it's not the counter rhythm system. It's got a heavy light kind of thing, and it's got the big level shields above enemies, and then it looks like it looks like Avengers, but better.
I've been hearing a lot of comments about that on the internet, and it looks like there is, at least from the trailer I saw, because I didn't watch the entire thing like you did. I just watched the trailer. But correct me if I'm wrong. It looks like there's combo moves where, like, I can beat up a character and kick them towards you, and then you can do a finishing move on them, or vice versa. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's what it looked like. But I mean, I remember you said that, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool, but I didn't see that at the time. It just kind of looks like, I mean, you could do that in Arkham Knight too.
Okay.
When you were fighting.
CB, how do you feel about Batman being dead?
I don't think
in this storyline.
Well, since I gotta start the rumor mill early, I don't think he's dead.
There's that's not even worth discussing. By the end of the game, you will play Batman.
Yeah, I think I can't remember where you posted it, Zach, but something like, oh yeah, we're gonna find out that he's been kidnapped by the Court of Owls, and there's gonna be some storyline that we have to uncover to save him.
Because I know CB's read the comics.
Yeah,
and I don't want to spoil it too much because it's gonna be Scott's first comic ever. But the court does get a hold of Batman for, I think it's almost, I know it's several weeks, could be months.
Yeah, it's
like they beat him pretty resoundly.
Can you give like the unspoilery elevator pitch of the deal with the Court of Owls? I don't know why they're called that. I don't know what they're. It's
really easy. Illuminati.
Yeah, but what makes it cool? And I hope CB agrees. I don't, but is that like the whole mystery starts because Bruce Wayne finds out that like the blueprints of the city aren't right or whatever. Like they're like hidden little half levels in every building of Gotham. Oh. So, and if you know Batman, it's all about like, I am Gotham, right? Like that's his pitch. So the Court of Owls, Gotham was never Batman City. They let it be Batman City while it suited them. Gotcha. And as soon as it didn't, they took him out pretty immediately, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm with you, CB. I don't think that he's dead. But I don't think that you'll be playing him by the end of the game. I think that it will wrap up with clues to the next game in the series, which will have you play as Batman, and then you're back to Batman.
I'm going to disagree.
CB is shaking his head.
I think you'll get one level as Batman.
It'll be the final. I'll say the final one, like the final act of the game, you're going to be Batman.
Or, I mean, you're going to have to, you will at least fight alongside him. There's no question there.
Yes.
I don't think.
So it'll be an interesting game. I agree with Zach. It's a tremendous storyline. I'm finally happy that it's being put into a game that we can play and enjoy for more people who haven't had the experience of reading the comics.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering how many liberties are going to be taken.
Yeah, that's like with adapting so directly, such a high profile storyline. The pressure is definitely on at Warner Brothers Montreal.
Yeah,
for sure. But let's talk about the other one: Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. And I'm going to go first because this one did not have any gameplay. Fine, CB, you can go first. Go ahead. Talk to us about Suicide Squad.
You're going to take comic stuff away from the comic guys. Man, I'm excited. I'm a little disappointed at the fact that the continuity is the same universe as the Arkham games.
Yeah, I think that's a major mistake.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But I mean, we get to play as the Suicide Squad somewhat, and Brainiac's going to be the main villain.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like Brainiac is pretty obviously the end game. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm kind of excited to see that. Man, that was a great way to kind of reveal, because you and I have talked about this, Zach, about how it's gonna be Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, and I was wondering how they were gonna do it. The fact that they're bringing in Brainiac to do it makes this perfect. I'm like super excited. It looks great. King Shark though, really. I don't know how I feel.
Yeah, I don't know anything about these characters, and I watched this and I'm like, well, that's the character I don't want to play as.
King Shark?
Yeah.
He's having a renaissance right now with the Harley Quinn animated series.
Well, that and thanks to Constantine.
Because Constantine banged him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, John Constantine slept with King Shark.
Man, that in the comics, I assume you're talking.
A recent animated film.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, can I talk now, CB?
Sure, go ahead.
I'd rather you didn't, personally.
The first thing that stood out to me in this, and again, it's cinematic, there was no gameplay. This thing looked gorgeous. I was watching on my phone, and I don't know if it's in 4K on my phone. I doubt it. I really can't tell. But it looked amazing. But the thing that stuck out even more was, is this the one that's not coming out till 2022?
Yes.
Yeah.
They flashed that at the end of the trailer, and wow, that's really early to announce it. And that's before any delays. Like every other big title is getting delayed as of late. Granted, hopefully the pandemic will be over by then, but and 2022 is a big year. I mean, that's a long time of a window to give them, so they can really do it whenever. But
well, I mean,
that is an early announcement of the game.
But at the same time, I don't think it's really that early of an announcement because, I mean, we got Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, and we don't even have theoretical release dates for those.
That's true.
Yeah, I am cool with it because I kind of wish the games industry is more like the movie industry where they just would tell you what they're making.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the secrecy doesn't really serve anybody.
And I actually think I'm actually willing to bet this game's going to get delayed at least once or twice, because here's the thing: we've seen what a minute 30 cinematic. That's it. No gameplay, nothing. It wouldn't have been that hard to throw a cinematic together.
Right. What is the gameplay going to be? Is this going to be the same thing that we saw with Gotham Knights, where it's, co-op, multiplayer, everybody going together?
Did you listen to the interview with Sefton Hill afterwards?
I did not.
Yeah, it's that game. Yeah. So that means 3 of the 4 major announced superhero games are the same genre.
So basically, DC went and looked at Marvel's Avengers and said, all right, we're going to make that, but we're going to do it our own way. And now we've got 3 of those games in the works right now. Again,
always the argument. I mean, Gotham Knights would have already been in development, right?
Yeah.
True.
So
here's the thing I like
the
most about this trailer is that DC games in general, or Batman games in general, from the Arkham series especially, Gotham is just dark and dreary and raining, and which fits Batman for sure. This taking place in Metropolis, where it's a little bit brighter, you're able to pass off the humor a little bit. I feel like they're trying to do what Marvel did with the humor in their characters, at least in the cinematic universe. It's kind of cool seeing that in this game where it's funny. I want to see more of that, and I want to hunt down superheroes. That sounds fun.
Yeah. Again, I said it last week. I just kind of bummed that the first time you'll be seeing all these Justice Leaguers, they will not be the Justice League.
What do you mean?
That they're not going to be good guys.
I see.
Like the first time Flash is really in a major video game outside of fighting games is he's a bad guy, or even in Injustice, it's superheroes versus superheroes.
Yeah,
and then even Lego Batman 3, they were mind controlled for most of that. So that's just almost every major DC game. First of all, has Superman to be a villain of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
It's just honestly showing the Justice League be good guys would be refreshing and a new thing to see.
So,
and I think that's what we were all kind of hoping for.
So I don't know about you, Zach, but how long do you think it's going to be before we realize that we're not actually killing the Justice League?
I actually think because it's in the Arkhamverse, it'd be cool if you do kill the Justice League.
I agree.
This is kind of like, this is the end of the Arkham universe.
Mm-hmm. Because you can always reboot it. Everything gets rebooted and started over.
Right, and then
universe.
You make their next game in the Gotham Knights timeline, and then you finally have a connected video game universe. Although it is a bummer that both Marvel and DC do not have a shared video game universe. That's sad.
True.
There was not a whole lot of other news stuff going on in terms of video game. We did get a trailer for Martha is Dead. I think that game looks really interesting. CB, you were interested in reviewing that one for us. Would you call it a walking simulator? I don't know.
It's an investigating
a suicide.
It's an investigation game. It kind of, the way it looked already kind of reminds me of the Sherlock Holmes games, where it's kind of a walking simulator, but you have to also piece together some puzzles I mean, it's still very early on, so I mean, we got the trailer for it. So I'm hoping that it's in that same thread where it's a little bit of investigation and there's going to be some puzzles to solve. So I'm actually kind of excited for it. It looks good. I love weird, creepy storylines like that. So
I think it looks more of a thriller than the Sherlock Holmes stuff, though. Like there's a lot more like scary stuff going on, or possibly a murderer coming after you. It looks like you're investigating a suicide that may not be a suicide. And
is it a whole squad of people?
No, it's just one person.
Oh, okay.
My guess is it's going to have some heavy Lovecraft elements. Just looking at how the trailer looks.
Is this the like this year's Year of the Bow is the year of Lovecraft elements?
Yeah.
It feels like it. I mean, it's in the public domain, so snatch it up, I guess.
Apparently.
I can't get enough of the Lovecraft stuff.
I enjoy it too, as long as it's done properly.
Yes, which is very hard to do in a video game.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, that's it for news. Let's go ahead and move on. I want to remind everybody that we are an independently funded podcast, which means that we do need to pay for our podcast hosting services, website, all that on our own, and with help from you guys. So we offer a Patreon page where fans can contribute monthly to help offset the cost of production as well as give back to the community. If you'd like to help out, you can do so at patreon.com/thegocast. And we've got $3 a month levels, $5 a month levels. And actually, this is our first week of doing a live recording. So our Patreon members were given a YouTube link, and they are actually watching us record this show live. So if that's something you'd like to do, consider heading over to patreon.com/thegocast and helping us out. CB, what's going on with the episodes on there, the bonus episodes?
Well, I know most recently we did our Going Gun drunken trivia game. It was myself versus Jordan Derringer High. And we have an upcoming episode on Ghosts of Tsushima. I know Spencer just recently finished that game, so I'm kind of curious to see what he comes up with for that.
For sure. And again, thank you to everybody listening right now, as well as out there in the internet verse on Patreon for helping support us. We really do appreciate it. We're going to go ahead now and jump to the games we've actually been playing. All right, Zach, you got quite the list this week. Are we in the throes of fall already, or did you just find a lot that you were interested in?
No, man. This is a huge release week in terms of games. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I don't know if everyone will care, but lots of games coming out this week. Although right at the top, Vader Immortal. This is for Zach. Coming to PSVR finally. I can learn what you and CB are always raving about. Cannot wait to use a crossguard lightsaber.
I can't wait to hear you talk about it.
I want to be lost in the virtual world, and hopefully have Vader stab me. That'd be cool. And then Insurgency Sandstorm. It's a tactical FPS coming to PS4, Xbox One, August 25th. This looks like what Rainbow Six used to be.
Okay.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
No Straight Roads coming to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC, August 25th. Street Power Soccer coming to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, August 25th. That game looks weird, but it looks like one-on-one soccer. Best Friend Forever, game where you help take care of a dog on Switch and PC, August 27th. And then Control AWE, that's another one for me, on PS4, Xbox One, and PC, August 27th. It is not timed exclusive like the first DLC was.
Thank God.
Which is good, since Alan Wake, is an Xbox boy.
Mm-hmm.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition coming to PS4, just PS4 and Switch on August 27th. So if you
hated that game.
If you want to play an absolutely miserable Final Fantasy game, you finally have your chance. It's awful.
But I remember not being able to wait to play that game because, hey, a co-op Final Fantasy game, and it was nothing of that. It was like somebody carry the pot around while I stay and fight, and it just was super bad.
But now it's remastered for twice the badness.
Sure.
It looks awful. Hypnospace Outlaw, though, coming to PS4, Xbox One, PC, August 27th, a game where you explore the 90s internet. Next game from, oh my god, the Life is Strange people. Don't nod. Tell Me Why, coming to Xbox One, PC, August 27th. Captain Tsubasa, Rise of the New Champions, going to PS4, Switch, and PC, August 28th, which very much looks like Super Mario Strikers. and that excites me greatly. That game was awesome. Madden NFL 21 coming to PS4, Xbox One, Stadia, PC, August 28th. Nexomon Extinction, a Pokemon ripoff, going to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, August 28th. Project Cars 3, major racing franchise, getting its next entry, PS4, Xbox One, PC, August 28th. Shing, a 2D beat 'em up, coming to PS4, Switch, and PC, August 28th. Wasteland 3, another major release, coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC, August 28th. And then Windbound, which I just sent a trailer to Scott, and this game looks amazing. Going to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, August 28th. Windbound, for those following along at home, looks like Breath of the Wild with sailing.
Well, okay, yeah. Breath of the Wild with Wind Waker sailing.
Yes.
But on like a much bigger ship. It looks gorgeous.
It looks like a bunch of developers played Breath of the Wild and they're like, you know what? One thing's missing.
Boats.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I take it that's the one you're planning to play this week.
I think the thing I'm most excited for, honestly, is Vader Immortal.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds awesome.
Here's my question about Control, because I did not. Do we still not have the one that was released on PS4?
Nope, not yet.
The last one. So we're getting the second expansion before the first expansion.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel like
the first expansion picks up on a story thread that was left dangling at the end of the game. If you remember, your security officer went missing, and then you just never looked for her. You look for her in the DLC.
Gotcha. Still, I think that's what I want to play this week, just because, number one, I haven't touched Control since release. Played the game, finished it. I'm rusty, but I'm ready to jump back in that world and see what they got to do, especially if they're including Alan Wake in there. But tell me why. I believe that's coming to Game Pass, is it not?
I already have it downloaded.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought it was published first party, isn't it?
Yep. You can pre-download it now if you have Game Pass.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think I'll have to check that one out because I love Don't Nod stuff. So.
I liked that first Life is Strange.
Also, expect to hear Nate talk about Nexomon Extinction. He's actually reviewing that one for us next week.
Nice.
He's a huge Pokemon fan. Does not surprise me at all.
I kind of want to check out Hypnospace Online.
Oh, well, yeah. Really? I think it looks cool.
Yeah. It's something different.
Yes, but it doesn't really look console friendly.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
But yeah, I'm also very excited for the Control DLC. It's got my dude in it. So you guys have been playing Battletoads, yes?
See.
With Ritz? No, Zitz, Pimple, and Rash?
Yes.
Hey, you got it right.
Yeah, there we go. They almost have enough to be turtles.
True.
So this is a reboot of the venerable franchise. Right off the bat, better or worse than the OG?
For the retro nerd in me, it's not as good, but it is still a very enjoyable experience, and it's not so much a reboot.
Yeah, it's a very different game. There's some things that are very similar. Just the beat 'em up portions. You're running around beating up dudes. That's the same. The speeder bikes are there, but it's completely different. It does not feel like the same game at all. And unlike CB, I am not enjoying this game.
That's because you're bad at these games.
I can't wrap my head around beat 'em ups anymore. Beat 'em ups used to be simple. You go around and you just find the right angle and the right timing to get in there. Now you've just got so many different button combinations, and I have to not only smack the dude, I have to grab him with my tongue and lasso him in. And what's the other thing I got to do? If an enemy is guarding, I have to hold down the B button.
Yeah, there's
to charge up a thing to
a shield break.
Yeah, and it's just I have to come up with some different combination for every specific situation, and it's just a lot to remember and a lot. I can't get it down.
For a guy that loves rhythm games and can remember ridiculous combinations of buttons, I'm surprised.
I'm not remembering the combinations of buttons in a rhythm game. I'm literally reading the notes.
Okay,
like you would read sheet music. So I'm reading them and following commands like very quick QTE events. If this game gave me a bunch of QTEs, like say they gave me dead or alive moves, but with buttons that I had to press in a certain order, I'd do fine.
So, I will say though, this game is actually a sequel.
Okay.
They do mention that early on, that this takes place 27 years after the last one.
Wait, has it been 27 years since the first game?
I believe so.
That's kind of a
but
funny.
There's been games since then.
But it's been 27 years from the first game.
Gotcha.
So I think one of the reasons I like this, and Scott's going to hate me for saying this, is because this is basically Shaq Fu.
Oh no. Wait, the reboot one that you didn't you like that one?
I love that one too.
I didn't like that one
It's
either.
kind of a reimagining of how these games would be if they had the technology now that they like. If they had the technology then that we do now, because there's so many more things that they can do with all the new stuff. Because this game is more than just a beat 'em up. There's like racing sections. There's a shmup section.
Wasn't there were racing sections the OG, you know?
Oh, there was the speeder bikes. So I mean, they were kind of racing sections, but there is a significantly long shmup section, which I know Scott is going to hate when he gets to it because it's not easy.
We'll see. As long as I don't have to flip things over like I do in Ikaruga, I'm fine. Zach, there's literally a section. It's like a mini game in between levels where I'm giving a massage to somebody, and I have to hit buttons in a certain order. And then for some random reason, it goes over to one of the Battletoads at a computer, and I have to hit button combinations for him to type and then to bang on the computer and then continue typing. And if I do it in a quick enough time, I get more money. And I have no idea why I'm doing it. Why am I massaging somebody?
Okay.
That sounds kind of cool, man.
So
to me, honestly.
So essentially the story goes, the Battletoads were trapped underground after the last game, and everybody forgot about them, so they had to go get real jobs.
Well, they clearly haven't spoken to GameStop staff.
Yeah. So, but yeah, one of them's a masseuse, one of them works at the email factory, and then I can't remember what the third one does off the top of my head. But it's far in the future. The Dark Queen from the original survived, and you have to take down a new threat. The beat 'em up sections, I will say, aren't as crisp as the original.
Okay.
But I mean, they are playable. The story makes fun of itself. There's a lot of stupid jokes that I find funny. I know our producer would love the stupid humor in it as well.
They're hit or miss for me. There's a couple that I thought were funny, but for the most part, I felt like they were trying too hard.
Yeah,
that's me.
They are, but
like you're talking about like Borderlands 2 kind of stuff.
Yeah.
No, not like. Well, there's some pop culture references, I suppose, but it's more like trying to come up with the biggest dude bro response. Like the opening thing has the dude talking about, "Hey, we're the best guys, and I'm the best kisser." And he's like, "Why are you the best kisser?" Well, because I practice all the time on my hand. And then right before they jump out the window to go fight the guys, one of them holds his hand up and kisses his hand and goes, "Ew!" Like, look.
That sounds like a Borderlands joke.
It really does.
Okay. but I like Borderlands humor. This didn't feel like Borderlands. I don't know.
Maybe you got to drink while you play.
Maybe that's what it is. I will say the speeder bike level, which is now from behind the speeder bikes instead of that side view like we had in the original, infinitely easier than the original. Like, it's still tough. I died a few times, but it takes some getting used to, but it's kind of cool.
Are you playing?
It sounds like there's a lot of variety.
There is.
That's cool.
It even turns into a platformer at one point, doesn't it? Like a 2D platformer?
Yeah, it's beat 'em up, platformer, shmup, like a grind style game where you actually have to like grind on different types of rails.
Oh, that's cool.
There's a racing section. So I mean, they've thrown quite a bit in this game, but it's definitely not my favorite. I mean, I still had fun.
Yeah,
but
I would rather go back and play more of the original or Battletoads and Battlemaniacs on Super Nintendo.
Or Battletoads and Double Dragon.
Battletoads and Double Dragon is hard, but yes, I would rather play that one as well. I will say one of the things I do like about it is the animation is great. I was talking to Chris Owens earlier today, who actually did the written review for us, which is on our site, and he said that it reminded him of modern animation like Bob's Burgers, where it's flowing, it's crisp, and the humor and the dialogue and the voice acting is snappy like that. I think it looks really good. When stuff starts going and, just like in the old Battletoads games, your foot turns into an anvil, or I haven't seen the horns, like the ram horns out of his head yet. I assume that's got to be there.
Yeah. The one thing I'm actually not overly a fan of is I actually feel that they did make it too easy in spots.
Is there not
Really?
there's not a difficulty select thing?
So
There's 3 different difficulty levels.
If you play on medium or lower, like if you die, you take over as like the next Battletoad.
Right. Like swaps out, like tag me in.
Yeah.
Kind of
So
thing.
it's a tag me in. And then if you don't get knocked out for 20 seconds, the other one is brought back to life. And if you die, you can go back to that one again. So as long as you stay alive for more than 20 seconds, you can just keep it going.
Yeah, it's not. I haven't died. Like I haven't got a game over except for on the speeder bike. I hit some walls there. I'm not struggling. I just can't get. Again, we talked about games grading you on a few episodes ago. I hate that in the bottom right hand corner it constantly tells me that I have a C rating, and I have no idea how I'm supposed to get that up. Like, do I just keep doing combos?
Good luck.
Yeah.
I managed to get it to A once. And
how did you do it?
String together the most ridiculous 150 combo.
That's not fun to me.
No, I feel that could have been taken out. It wasn't necessary for this game.
Mm-hmm.
You guys don't seem thrilled about this thing.
No, I like it, and I would recommend it to anybody that has Game Pass.
You can. I recommend any Game Pass game to anyone.
But at the same time, I think the game is only like $19.99. It's not expensive,
right?
But
it's also like a 5-hour game, which is like right in Zach's wheelhouse.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, you can do this game in under 5 hours.
We should really talk about Game Link sometime.
Yeah,
about what? Like we should.
Yeah.
Like maybe in about a half an hour.
Yeah. So
let's do it.
But yeah, I would recommend it.
Okay. Well, I don't know. You didn't really sell me on it to be, just throwing that out there.
So, speaking of different games, tell me about The Tourist, because I know little to nothing about this game.
Well, this one's also on Game Pass, so you can try this one out for free. And I believe, I apologize, whoever recommended this one to me on Discord. I want to say it's Drew Ross, because he recommended Undermine to me. But The Tourist is a game that when I look at it, I had very little interest in playing because it looks like Minecraft in terms of very blocky characters. It's not Minecraft, but it's characters and everything is very reminiscent of that game. But it's more of an adventure game. Did either of you get a chance to watch the trailer? I know I dropped it in there late.
No, I didn't get a chance to drop the trailer.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, it straight up looks like Minecraft, but you play as a tourist. And this is tourist with a Y, by the way. Touryst. You hop up on this island and you just are given no instructions. You just hop. It's like you're on vacation. You get one of those flowery T-shirts, like Hawaiian T-shirts, or not T-shirts, but collared shirts. And you just go. You start by going and exploring. And I go around the island and I find this monument. And there's a little puzzle on it. I have to look at some. I have to look at some blocks, and I climb up to this monument, and I have to arrange the blocks so that they match the other monument or whatever. And it's very, very simple. And after that, you find out that there are 4 other monuments scattered throughout the world that you have to get to. And this guy tells you to bring back these stones for some reason. And that's about the extent of the story. Here, how do I explain this game? Playing this, I was reminded of old school JRPGs where you kind of just come into a village and you talk to everybody and just try to figure out what you're supposed to do. And they give you very little direction in terms of you really have to use your brain. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's almost like those games I'm talking about of yesteryear, but light. Remember how we talked about Minecraft Dungeons being Diablo light or Diablo 3 light?
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of that, but it's got some platforming built into it, and you go underground and you solve some Zelda-like puzzles, and you collect coins and to purchase items that you need to progress progress forward. It's very charming. It's super charming.
Huh. Well,
I kind of scanned the trailer a little bit while you're talking. It looks awesome.
I'm glad you think so.
It looks very like inviting. And the underwater stuff looked cool.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's a very relaxing game, especially after like months of Last of Us and whatever other dark games we've been playing. This feels very relaxing. I spent about 10 minutes trying to figure out how to help a DJ make this party. And there's a bunch of people on a dance floor, and you have to go around and flick on all the dance floor lights and fog machines and plug in the generator to make the music louder. And all of a sudden the music just amps up and gets louder and everyone's having a good time. And it's just simple little things like that are on your quest log that seem like insignificant little things, but they're fun to accomplish. It's a neat little game.
So chores like the video game.
Yeah, I don't like using that phrase, though, because I did not like Animal Crossing New Leaf. You know, and again, I have not played the new Animal Crossing. I'm not knocking that series, but where I've just had to check in every single day and do this checklist of stuff in order to pay back this. That's not what this is. This is vacation. It's like a Minecraft vacation simulator that is just relaxing. You just kind of sit back and enjoy it. I'm not going to say enjoy the view because it doesn't have realistic looking graphics, but it is really clever to see how well they animated these big voxels. Like you jump in the water and water splashes out as these white, like a stream of white blocks. And shockingly, the audio is incredible. It sounds like real sounds you would hear in a game or possibly pre-recorded and put in the game. The sound sounds like real stuff. But you just see boxes floating everywhere, and it's really clever to see.
I might actually have to check this out.
Yeah, I think you'd dig it, CB. It's supposed to be pretty short. Puzzles are not overly complex. I feel like, a younger elementary kid would eat this up, just in terms of trying to figure it out, because, they love Minecraft when they can just jump into a world and do whatever they want to. This one just has a little bit more purpose, and there's not any building, obviously. It just feels like it's got a little bit more... It's funny I say it's got a little bit more direction when I just got done saying there's not a whole lot of direction, but...
Well, I like how much it looks like a slice of life kind of thing, which is cool. A little bit of something different, and it doesn't look like you're always in combat, which is,
I've not encountered any combat yet.
That's wild, right? I often talk about how I wish there was more verbs in games than just kill. Right.
And there's some, light puzzle stuff. Again, I haven't gotten super far to see how difficult it is, but it's interesting to see these Zelda-like puzzles. Like the very first one, I'm in a room with 4 colored squares, and this snake-looking thing with a light on the end of it comes out with a spotlight searching around. So my natural inclination, because I've played stealth games in the past, is try to avoid that spotlight. And so I'm sitting there for 2 or 3 minutes running away from the spotlight like I do in every other game. And then I realize, oh no, I'm supposed to stand on these lit squares so that the spotlight can shine on that and turn it a different color and go about and do all 4 of them to open up the door. I know that sounds like a very simple, trivial thing, but the fact that the game does not spell out to you what you're supposed to do, you just have to read the environment and figure out what they want to do based on visual clues. I kind of like that.
So,
yeah,
and normally I don't.
So basically the entire game is a puzzle.
Yeah, pretty much. Because they just dump you in this open world and basically say, go figure it out. You can talk to a couple people and get some clues, but it's really kind of cool. I don't know how much more I'm going to be playing it because I'm highly addicted to another game we're going to talk about in a second. But it's worth checking out, especially on Game Pass.
Okay.
Again, that is called The Touryst. TourYst. Before we get to the games we've been catching up on, I wanted to share with you guys some reviews from some of our community writers. I'm going to let you hear in from Rel, Alyssa, and Christina as they talk about 3 games that they've been playing. Well, hey there, Rel. How you doing, man?
Doing a lot better now that the weather's cooled down just a skosh.
Very good. Also joining us is Alyssa White. How you doing, Alyssa?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing all right. Thank you so much for joining us. And finally, Christina Flores. How you doing, Christina?
Hey, Scott, I'm doing pretty good.
That's good to hear. I'm so glad you all are here. We don't cover it nearly as many PC games as we do console games, and all three of you played a PC game this week. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to start with Rel. Rel, you were playing a game called Eastern Exorcist, which I keep trying to say Exodus instead, and I keep messing it up whenever I try to type out the title of this game. But Eastern Exorcist, developed by Wildfire Game, and we got to give a shout out to Press Engine for hooking you up with a review copy of this one. This looks like 2D Dark Souls. Yes? No?
It is kind of 2D Dark Souls meshed with... Do you remember Dust and Elysium Tale?
Yes, I do remember Dust.
It is kind of sort of... It has a lot of flavor of that.
Okay.
But it's definitely very much Bloodborne-y, because, you have the dodges with the iframes. You have big old bosses with relatively predictable attack patterns that once you learn, you can kind of clear them pretty easily. Very, very 2D action oriented. I wouldn't call it as difficult as Bloodborne, or Dark Souls. They give you a lot of really cool abilities, like certain magic spells and whatnot that help you in the fight.
Well, talk to me about the story, because from the subtitles that I saw in the trailer, it sounds like an exorcist isn't what we're used to being an exorcist. Someone that exorcises demons. It sounds like they have a slightly different job in this game. Is that correct?
Well, it kind of is. The title Eastern Exorcist, it's very much Asian-flavored version of an exorcist. It's basically someone who hunts down demons and kills them. And the general story is you start out as this exorcist who's gone up to a mountain to try and kill this big evil demon. His apprentices basically end up getting killed. He's disgraced, goes on a journey to basically scatter their ashes in their hometowns. And then as he goes to their hometowns, he finds them beset by various troubles, malevolent spirits and whatnot. So he has to just kill everything that moves and purify the place.
So talk to me a little bit about the gameplay then. You said it's not nearly as difficult as Bloodborne, but it still has that feel to it.
Yeah, because you have to dodge attacks. It can be very punishing if you just try and brute force things. Like, you don't want to be too aggressive. You want to dodge out of the way of enemy attacks. But the thing that really struck me that made it not as good is the fact that some of the bosses use a shield system where you have to first destroy their shield and then you can damage their health. And the problem with that is their shield regenerates after you damage them a little bit, 15-20% of their health. And so you have to take the whole shield down again in order to damage them more. But if you take too long in hitting them, like if you just avoid their attacks for too long, the shield still regenerates. So it made the boss battles, or some of the boss battles, the ones that use the shield mechanic, feel like too long. And then
it sounds like it forces you to be aggressive too, because you can't just rest on your laurels and dodge. You have to consistently keep those attacks flowing.
Yeah, but then sometimes the bosses float out of the way or teleport somewhere, and then you have to hunt them down. And if you can't find them fast enough because the arena is a little bit too big, then their shield regenerates. And especially on normal difficulty, I actually played it on 2 different difficulties, normal and easy, or casual as they call it. Normal was really brutal. Normal took several attempts to clear certain bosses. Casual was easier, but it still wasn't a cakewalk. Casual made it feel way more like Dust and Elysium Tale, and normal is just straight up Bloodborne.
Oh, okay. So do you recommend... I know this game isn't early access yet, and so things could kind of change before the final product is out there, but are you recommending our listeners check this one out?
Kind of. I mean, if you're in the mood for a 2D, very punishing Bloodborne type game, it's punishing but mostly fair. Like I said, the shield mechanic, I thought, made it feel a little bit take too long. You know what I mean? But I think it's good. It definitely has potential. I think I'm looking forward to seeing what the finished product looks like, because I would like to see a lot more polish on the game, because I feel like some of the spells that you can use just are not as good as the very first one you get, because the very first one you get just spawns a bunch of swords that go and attack enemies, and that can be a very easy crowd control method, or just whittle down the boss's shield, even if you're nowhere near it. So it definitely needs some polish, but I think it shows a lot of promise.
Sounds good. Thanks for checking that one out, man. I appreciate it. I know there's not going to be a review on that one for this game, but can you let everybody know your YouTube channel so they can check out your other reviews?
So when the game actually does exit early access and become a fully fledged game, they can for sure check out the review for that on my YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/RelPlays. That's RELLE plays.
Awesome. Moving right along, we're going to talk to Alyssa about a kind of similar game, but mostly completely opposite to what Eastern Exorcist was. It's similar in demons only, we'll say, but Alyssa, you checked out Lovingly Evil, which comes from developer Lizard Hazard Games and was given to us by Renaissance PR for coverage purposes. I know you love those dating sims games.
Oh,
This one looks like it's got a sense of humor built into it. Why did you love this game so much?
It does have a really strong sense of humor, but it's very light, and I just love so much about this game. As soon as you start it up, you get to customize your character. You can make your character look like a vampire, a cyclops. You can give them horns. You can make them look like a regular human, and then the game starts off and they ask you, why did you become a villain? What's your most villainous thing that you've ever done? If you have any dietary restrictions, like you could say you can only drink blood, or you're a vegetarian, or you could say nothing at all, or you're lactose intolerant. And you're going to this convention, and then you're given free reign to go to different rooms, and there are 5 different potential love interests, including Satan himself. And it's really nice because you get to know each of the characters on a pretty deep level, and they each have a mini game associated with them. So, say Satan has one where you cook for his imps while he goes and talks to other people, or there's a sentient robot that has a trivia game that you have to play, and the questions become more difficult as you go along. And I just really like that they implemented the mini games alongside the visual novel dating sim aspect.
I think we got to make sure we're painting this picture too, because you mentioned that you get to meet the devil himself.
Yes.
The devil is like this dude bro, shirt off, muscle bound.
Yes.
It's with blonde flowing hair, if I remember correctly. Everything about this game just makes me laugh and smile for the weirdest reasons.
Oh yeah, the dialogue itself, it's just full of pop culture references. It breaks the fourth wall. And actually, Satan himself is a big softie, you find out. So it's really interesting.
So do you recommend our listeners checking out Lovingly Evil?
If you're into dating sims and visual novels, for sure, because it's unique, it's humorous. It made me laugh so much when I was playing. It's not too long, about an hour and a half per playthrough. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it's just something unique. So yeah, definitely, if you're into that genre, check it out.
Very cool. Thank you so much. And again, that is Lovingly Evil. And we're going to wrap up by talking to Christina about a game that she's been playing called Milky Way Prince, the Vampire Star. The developer of this one is Santa Ragioni. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Does that sound right, Christina?
I think so. It's Italian, so it sounds like you roughly pronounced it correctly.
Did it the best of my American capabilities. And Stride PR hooked us up with a copy of this one. And Christina, I've been really excited to talk to you about this one, because one of my favorite things about being friends with you and playing games with you and talking about games with you is getting random text messages from you talking about your experience while you're playing it. And you have been blowing up my phone today talking about how this game affected you emotionally. So before you get to that, can you tell us exactly what's going on in this one? Because it seems very story-driven as well, but I can't understand what's going on.
Sure. So this is a visual novel about I don't know if the character himself is completely gay or if he's bisexual, but he's young. I would guess he's in his early 20s, and he definitely seems to have had a series of failed relationships before, just based off of how he handles himself throughout the visual novel. And as a young child, he read a book called The Milky Way Prince. And then right at the beginning of this game, a shooting star comes and hits the earth, and he goes to go see what happens. and he finds a stranger right at the landing place of the shooting star, and they embark on this very emotional, codependent, narcissistic, toxic relationship. And
wow.
it follows that journey. And you're right, it really did impact me in a very emotional way. I played through it twice, and then I'm partway through the third playthrough. Didn't get through the third ending before we got to record tonight.
Well, I hope you can answer this, and I hope you don't mind me asking this, because I don't want you to dive too deep into the personal reasons why this affected you so much. But what about this game might strike a chord with people emotionally?
So if you've been in emotionally abusive relationships, you can definitely relate to both sides of the story. If you end up on one of the tracks of the gameplay, you'll actually get to experience the way the events play out from both perspectives, and it's fascinating how they pulled that off. And it makes you think about your reactions in those situations, and it actually starts to make you question, were my actions at that time for nothing, or was I really just as toxic as the two characters in this game? Because I'm going to tell you, neither one of them are scotch-free in this relationship. But it's very
really
relatable.
It does.
It is. It's very interesting. And then if you have mental illness or mental health challenges, you'll be able to relate as well. So you're hitting on a lot of key things that are trending in society right now when you're talking about mental health, narcissistic relationships, and the LGBT realm of things.
I think one of the things that stood out in our conversation was you said, Scott, it's so real. Like, can you explain what you meant by that?
There were many phrases along the way through this game where either the words have been said to me or I've said them myself in past relationships that were unhealthy. And it made me sit there and take a step back, like, wow, that was a really intense series of dialogue. And I had texted you right after that first gameplay where I got to see both perspectives. And I just kind of sat there and stared at the laptop for a little bit after I was done, just kind of soaked it in.
I love it when a game does that to me. So do you recommend it?
I do recommend it. I will say this. You can tell it is the developer's first game. So in comparison to some other psychological visual novels that I've played, it's not as well polished, and the branching mechanisms aren't necessarily as clearly defined as you typically would see from a developer that's been doing this for a while. But it was a really solid first game, and the artwork and the soundtrack that go along with the gameplay really helped the game shine. I would have liked to see a little bit more character development, but I understand why they didn't focus on kind of what happens between each event, because when you're in those types of relationships, the only thing that you can think about that's going on in life is that relationship. It sort of becomes your whole world, and you get an obsession with it. I also wanted to mention that the use of the actual diagnosis code for dissociative personality disorder was very intriguing to me. It makes me want to go and find out what the developer's background is, if he had medical psychology experience or background, because it says right there, and I recognized it from what I do for a living. Right away, I'm like, oh, I know that ICD-9 code. And so it kind of calls out, if you know what you're looking for, that you're going through an experience with someone who has borderline personality disorder, dissociative personality disorder.
That's really interesting. Again, that is Milky Way Prince, the Vampire Star. Thanks for checking that one out. And that brings us to the end of our contributing writers portion of the show right now. Thank you, Rel, Alyssa, and Christina for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Rel, good to see you, man.
You too.
You too, Alyssa.
Good to see you too.
and Christina.
As always.
All right, we'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much again, guys, for stopping by and chatting with us. I want to talk to you guys about the game I've been playing. I know I didn't put it in the notes here. I forgot to type it, but
Plot twist.
I know. I talked about it last week, I believe, and I have continued to play it, and I found my new addiction. I cannot put down Undermine. I am hopelessly addicted to Undermine, and it is becoming one of my favorites of the year very easily. Drew Ross, if you were listening, I don't know whether I want to shake your hand or curse your name, because this is all I want to play right now. I just want to keep playing Undermine. Somebody, CB, you weren't here last week, so you probably didn't hear me talk about it. Undermine is a, what's the proper term for it now? We're roguelike? How's the right way to say it?
I guess roguelite or roguelike. I mean, I don't know. What a lazy genre term, though.
But you know what I'm talking about.
I get it. I just feel like journalists 20 years ago had more creativity when they encountered a genre.
Right. It's Binding of Isaac without the poop, and just a very bright and colorful palette. Very cute, very inviting, but very addicting. Like I mentioned last week, you go from room to room, Zelda style. You collect gold, get as much as you can, try to beat the boss, and if you die, you get some of your gold back to go back and upgrade your stats. It's a pretty standard formula, but the difference here is that you actually have to mine the gold and try to keep these little critters from collecting it from you while you're mining it. I'm probably not selling it, but it is so good.
This is the one that you were telling me about the other day, where you like have to send like the gold up a mine shaft.
No, that's the other one that I was the one I did not like.
Oh, okay.
That is Heroes of Hammerwatch, where it's very, it's the same kind of structure, but the difference between that one and this one is it doesn't take you hours and hours to get any satisfaction.
Okay.
You never feel like you have a bad run. Like, even if you die very early, you still get something to show for it. In Hammerwatch, if you die and you haven't sent up any gold, you could have wasted the entire run. That's a big no-no to me in this style of game. This one, I feel like I never have one that was a complete waste of time. I can always do something to make my next run better. And to me, that is one of the key components of a roguelike, is to make sure that happens.
Doesn't Scott sound like such a connoisseur when he talks about roguelikes?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is kind of his known genre.
It does feel like it, right?
Which is weird, because I feel like I just kind of grew into it in the last couple of years. I never had really played one before. Rogue Legacy, I think, was the first one I played.
Yeah.
And they just click with me so much. I love checklists. I love stats. I love dungeon crawling, and and especially when you start combining different items. You remember how in Isaac you would do that, Zach, where you'd get, this random item and this random item, and you might get lucky and to just marry up and do something awesome. This one does that, but it feels more pre-planned in a way that I really, really appreciate. And the game just opens up bigger and bigger the more you get. One of our reviewers that I respect played it and said that it didn't grab him right out the gate, and I will kind of agree with that. But once I passed that first boss and started the second dungeon, it starts opening up all kinds of possibilities of way to expand your inventory, things that I didn't even think of that I wanted or needed, and I'm like, now I can't live without that. And you get to pet a dog, so you'll like this one. You come across in the dungeon a dog, and you press Y to pet the dog, and then you get a crafting spell or something like that. It's fantastic. I can't stop playing it. I beat the second of 5 bosses, so I've got 3 more to go to complete a run, and that's just one run. I imagine that the game's going to open up like Isaac does, where you beat it and that's not the real boss, and keep going and going and going.
And that was Undermined?
Undermine.
Mine.
Yep. The first dungeon is a mine that you.
Well, if you put mine in your game title, it's probably gonna help you out in SEO. I imagine.
Probably. Probably.
Yeah.
So I can't. I can't recommend it enough. I will be playing that for weeks to come. 2 bosses down, 3 to go.
Sweet.
Stay tuned for more. CB, how about you?
Well, I was going to start the new Animal Crossing, but my 12-year-old son will not give it back.
Oh, he's playing it.
He can't put it down.
Really?
Yeah.
So he likes chores. You should put that to good use.
I know. So much so that he's actually like completely stopped playing Fortnite. So I'm happy about that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hey man, you might want to strike while you still can. Who knows when it'll go away?
He's been playing that, and then Forager, which is
Forager. That sounds familiar.
Is it based on the DC New Gods character?
no. So he's been playing those. But for myself, I have also found a new addiction, which is Fall Guys.
Fall Guys is so good.
Oh my god, I can't stop playing it. I've played it the community game night, which is the first time I played it. I played it with Nate. I got in.
Yeah, I know, because you were downloading it while we were in the chat, ready to go. We had to wait for you to download the game.
So I played a few more rounds today. So man, I love that game. It's great. It's almost
just fun. It's Mario Party without the freaking board.
Yeah, it really is.
Just the good parts of Mario Party.
I actually talked with Nate a lot about it too, because it's not entirely skill based either. There's also a lot of luck in this game.
Well, what I adore about it is that it's a competitive game that's not about killing all the other players.
Right.
Yes.
You know, it's about your like personal skill against the game, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, there is some tactics involved, as
For sure. Yeah, like the freaking tail games that should die in a fire.
Yeah.
I'll take the tail games over the team games. That stupid soccer game. I hate that game so much.
Egg Scramble is unquestionably the worst game.
See, I like Egg Scramble.
I hate Egg Scramble.
Objectively the worst.
I hate Egg Scramble, and then I hate the big soccer one. But like the team game where you all push the ball down the ramp,
yeah, that's cool.
Is a lot of fun. But man,
I played one of those rounds where one of the teams, instead of going once they got the ball down that little bit right before the finish line, instead of going after their own ball, they just went after whichever ball was closest to the goal. And do you have any idea how hard it is to get your ball in the goal when like 5 or 6 other people are on the other side of it?
Yeah, man, that's a good strategy.
It is a good strategy.
Or when you're on Egg Scramble, if you just keep walking along the ledge so people can't jump up, that's a good strategy too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely some turtle up moves in that. So I'm having.
Why does there always people on the finish line like turning around and grabbing you too? Is that them just being douches, or is there a trophy that I'm not aware
There's
of?
a trophy or two.
Well, there is. I think there's one trophy if you grab each other. It's like a hug trophy.
Yeah,
but otherwise, it's just people being dicks.
Yeah, there's definitely some griefing. But I've been playing that.
I did get a trophy for getting first place in a race once. That was kind of cool.
Oh man, I have not gotten first in a race.
I got
Anybody got a crown?
No, I haven't gotten a crown yet.
I have gotten 1 crown.
Nice. What was the final level that you won it on?
It was you had to have the tail at the end.
Oh.
So man. It was like 2 minutes or whatever, and I just didn't move for the first 90 seconds. So I think people thought I was AFK. And then I just, when saw the tail guy come past me, just snatched it and ran.
Nice.
Oh, that's it. See, that's another good strategy. I like it.
Nate does the same thing in the tail games. He just sits there and waits.
There's no point in running around for 2 whole minutes.
Yeah.
Might as well just wait until you get like 30 seconds left and then just zero in on them.
Everybody running around reminds me of the kids in art class who had to like sprint to get the colored pencils, even though there's enough colored pencils for everybody. There's no reason to jump over each other for these things. Just wait.
That's a good point. Wouldn't you love to see everybody, all 60 people, just sitting still?
That would be awesome.
For 2.5 minutes or whatever it is.
Well, I mean...
that'd be interesting just to see like what happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, it would never happen, though. That's the thing.
Well, some of them aren't timed either, though. Because it goes on how many people get knocked out.
Yeah, those are cool.
How do you get knocked out in a tail game?
Well, not the tail game. Like, well, whoever has the tails is going to win.
He's talking about like ones that like where like it's got the walls that push you off or stuff like that.
Yeah, because there's the elimination ones, like all the races, like they'll go on forever until enough people are eliminated.
Yeah,
or qualify.
You know, when I'm sick of playing,
rollout
is where you're. Is that the one where you're like? There's the different platforms that
barrel?
It's like a circular. Yeah, I hate. I'm just tired of playing that one.
Yeah,
where there's
it just takes so long.
Yeah,
because you have to wait for 18 people to get eliminated or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Slime Climb, best game.
No. I love Slime Climb. Everyone complains about that one.
It's the Dark Souls of Fall Guys.
What do you mean by that?
Because you only got one shot, and if you fall off the edge, you don't get respawned. If you touch the slime, you're dead.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's just the hardest one. It's got the highest stakes, I feel like.
Here's the thing too about Fall Guys is it's in season 1.
Yeah.
Like they're planning, like the possibilities are endless.
I mean, did you see the Portal crossover costume that they just added today? You could be Peabody from the co-op modes.
Really?
Yeah, from Portal.
Yeah, and then far more exciting. Okay, if you're big on Twitter, is Yoko Taro did an interview with Yosuke Saito, and he's like, it is my new dream to have Nier Automata costume and Fall Guys. And then Fall Guys, about 30 minutes later, tweeted out, he's like, let's do it. So I'm pretty sure you're about to get some of that going.
Oh, my favorite one that I've seen is the Mike Wazowski.
That's perfect.
So, but instead of the one dot, it's 2.
That would be good. Yeah, Mike Wazowski. I'm just saying, don't you want like a little gothic Lolita Fall Guy with a little white wig on? Like 2B?
Sure.
Yeah.
Scott, play the freaking game. Jesus, you're killing me.
I heard that they're doing a charity thing where they're like letting all these companies basically bid on having their like a branded Fall Guy for them in the game, and then all the money is going to a charity. And I think the last time I checked, the one in the lead was a bidet company. So could you imagine a bidet branded Fall Guy running around in there? I just find that really funny to me.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
I think it's an adorable game. But other than that, I've been playing a VC in Vector.
I love rhythm games, so talk to me about this one because I see this one.
Is Avicii a band or a composer or something?
He was the DJ that passed away a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean,
you would know one of the songs if you heard it.
"Wake Me Up."
Mm-hmm. Wake me up when it's all over.
Wake me up before you go. Oh, what?
No, not that one.
Oh.
Man, this game's really fun.
Okay.
So
I'm listening.
Unlike most rhythm games where it's just a single straight track and things come at you, this track moves. So
like Amplitude?
I've never played Amplitude. But you are in a spaceship that is flying down a corridor that turns and twists and goes up and down. And most of the time, like, it's been a while since I've played a rhythm game. So I'm used to the Guitar Hero style, where you just have the 5 buttons. No, this uses also the D-pad, the bumpers, the triggers. It's insane.
No, thank you.
So the very first level it's a triangular shaped corridor. And as you're going down it starts simple with A. And so you just learn like a beat. And then it adds in left bumper. So you can move, like it makes you hop over like gaps. And then I'm going, and all of a sudden I see an arrow pointing this way, and it rotates the corridor.
Oh, okay.
So, but the problem is it'll continue going, but you can no longer hit the buttons then until you rotate the corridor, because now the buttons are on like the side.
Right.
So the song still plays and you can kind of jam out, but you're not racking up a score. And it's very different to think about a game that forces you to like rotate the play field as you're playing a rhythm game. And then there's like free flying sections in between certain areas. It's a new take on a rhythm game. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
You need to come over and play Amplitude at my house next time you're here.
Okay.
It's very similar to what you're talking, but Amplitude actually has just like separate tracks that go on a parallel line, like you're talking about, a triangular one that has 3 different sides to it.
Isn't that a PS2 game?
It was a PS2 game, and there was Amplitude, and I cannot remember the name of the other one now. It's Frequency. Frequency was the first one, but they made a PS4 version. It was this one I kickstarted, actually.
Oh,
my name's like in the credits, believe it or not. And it's incredible. But that one only uses 3 buttons. It uses the L1, R1, and R2. And basically what's cool about that is you are building the song as you go. So each of the tracks that you jump and back and forth play one part of the song. Like one is the drums, one is the bass, one is the synth, one is the vocals. You know what I mean? And you have to bounce back and forth to keep each track going. Otherwise, it drops that part from the song and you can't hear it. And there's only 3 jewels on each one, so it's one of the 3 buttons that you do with your fingers. And you get in a rhythm with that, and it's insane how crazy that game gets. But I really want to try Avicii and Vector because it sounds like my kind of game. And it's weird. I keep seeing that game on sale all over.
I was about to say I picked up a physical version for $9.99.
I was seeing them for like $5 at one point. So
yeah, it's really cheap to get it. I will say for because I'm playing it on easy because it's been a long time since I've touched a rhythm game. On easy, It's 5 buttons.
Whew. You need to play Double Kick Heroes. I want to see how you do on that one because you like some metal too.
I do enjoy me some metal. But yeah, I will once I play through this. I'll let you borrow my copy so you can play. Because I think you'll dig it.
Well, I want to give a shout out to our community members over on Facebook. We've got new members by the name of Mark Lee De Hugar, as well as Benjamin Peters. They both joined over at facebook.com/groups/the GoCast. And if you'd like to join that community, please be sure to head over there. We've also got some new Discord members, somebody by the name of Shaggy, also previously mentioned Jacob Gunderson, and the Zaphical. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but welcome to Discord. There is a link to our Discord community over on the show notes for this episode. We'd love to have you over there. No new iTunes reviews or Apple Podcast reviews, but we would love to hear from you and get some feedback, and we will read it on the show if you do so. Finally, our website is thegamingoutsider.com, where we post all our episodes and all of our written reviews. Speaking of which, you can read Alyssa's review of Lovingly Evil, which you heard her talk about a little while ago, and also Chris Owens' review of Battletoads is up there as well. We're going to now move into our From the Outside In topic. This week, we decided to discuss length of the games we play. How long is too short? What games made you wish they were longer? And does the amount of gameplay hours determine at what price you'll pick it up? So, I want to ask you guys, what is the best length for a video game? CB, let's start with you.
Well, any length.
That's what she said.
Okay.
I mean, I've played games from 30 minutes to over 200 days of literal game time. I guess for me, depends on the type of game and how long it's going to hold my interest. Because I've played some games where 1 hour was too much. I mean, if I had to pick a time slot, I would say 10 hours. Just because at that point in time, I feel like there's enough that I can jump in and play and enjoy and then get out. And surprisingly, one of our community members is the same way. Scott Bors. The one game that comes to mind as feeling too short for him was Infamous Second Son. I played it as good and bad, but it took maybe 10 hours to platinum.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't remember that being that short. I love the game, but I just don't remember it being a 5-hour game.
I remember being so bored to death of it. I can't really remember.
Really? It wasn't my favorite of the series, but I still really liked it.
Yeah. Infamous 1 and 2 are great. Infamous Second Son, I thought, was a bore.
I've unfortunately never played
a Scott Bore.
Oh, that felt like a bad dad joke, man. But no, I enjoy short games, but I also enjoy lengthy games. I mean, come on, how many hours have we all put into Fallout and still enjoy every minute of it?
I think that's
Fallout 3 and 4 are probably 250 hours. And I didn't even do all the side stuff in Fallout 4.
Yeah. So and that's where I kind of had a problem with this question, is because it really does depend on the game type. Because you've watched me sit down and play Galaga for like 6 to 8 hours straight.
I think Dr. Mario is the one I've seen you do the longest, at least in an arcade.
Yeah.
There was the one time in Wisconsin, I had to step away and go do something because I was tired of watching Dr. Mario.
Actually, you did the same thing when we did our first community event at Galloping Ghost, because you challenged me to Galaga. And I was like, you might want to go play something else for a while.
Yep, I remember that.
And you went and played a couple games and came back, and I'm like, yeah, man, I'm still going. Like, I was like, here, and I think at that point in time I said, here, I'll just die. Go ahead and try to beat this.
So much potential sexual innuendo in this segment.
Zach, what do you think?
Well, actually, CB mentioned an interesting point about Fallout, right? With RPGs, I don't know, I feel like they're always presenting you with more story, new story, that they can work for longer. And I am loath to do this because I hate to agree with my Smirk co-host, but Aaron Peterson said, I've never played a game and wish it was longer, but I have stopped gaming frequently because of the length of time it takes to beat a game nowadays. 10 to 15 hours for the main story is perfect for my life and lifestyle. You start getting into 20 plus or 40 plus, and it is a complete turnoff no matter how much people rave about a game. It makes a chore versus fun for me. 10 to 15 is right. I always said 12 to 15 hours is perfect game length for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think so many of my favorite games are about that length. It's just the right amount of time to get into a story, have enough gameplay to do, get out, move on. CB give me a face like he thinks I'm lying.
Days Gone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's always exceptions to the rule, right? And the reason Days Gone, like, I don't know, I was hooked on that character, those characters. And there's also something, I don't know what's up with the Days Gone. That's a weird anomaly with me that we might need to check my brain about, because it is everything I hate about video games in one video game, and I love it to death. So I don't know what the hell that's about, but it is a fact.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely agree with the exception to the rule kind of thing, because there is that ideal game length that we like, and there are those exceptions. I mean, not every game is a Fallout or...
Well, it begs the question is, why do we play the game? Are we playing the game for the journey or the destination? Sometimes that destination, seeing the credits roll or seeing some story wrap up is why we play the game. And the several hours it takes to get there doesn't make it worth it. Or does it? Like a game, we could go back and forth about Assassin's Creed Odyssey and about how, CB and I like it a lot more than Zach does or did. But with a game that length, would the finale of that game had as much of an impact if you didn't spend that much time with Alexios or I forget
Cassandra.
The name of the female character. Cassandra. I played as Cassandra. I don't know why I couldn't remember it.
She's the better character.
She was by far the better
Lies.
character. Dude, I tried. I went back and rolled another character with him, and
the game, and this was recently confirmed, but the game felt like it was written for Cassandra, and then Alexios was written in after.
It felt like that for sure.
Yeah.
I agree.
And then they recently were like, oh, the publisher, Ubisoft made them put in the male protagonist.
But you know what I mean? Like with a story game like that, does prolonging the mystery for a long period of time matter? Let me give you another example. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Another game.
We have mixed feelings about that.
Another game I was not into the side content for.
But I wasn't too big into the side content. But the main story of that, would you have been as intrigued, or would that payoff have been as good if you didn't put in that many hours into that game?
I personally could tell you Horizon Zero Dawn would have been a better game for me if it was shorter. Because I did like the ending, and the revelations of Zero Dawn were okay. It was a little cliche for the genre, but that's okay. I liked Aloy. It was just the stiff characters in that game did not help anything. But it was, for that game, the pacing was weird, because when you got to the third act, it was just all this narrative dump that could have been spread out in the game better.
That's fair.
Because
I got to think of a better example than the point I'm trying to get across.
Here, I'll help you with, in my Fallout. Fallout's a great example, or Dragon Age Origins is a favorite of mine, or KOTOR. For me, I guess it is a little bit contradictory for me, because those games are long and I like them long. But I think part of that is, and I think Fallout 3 might be the best example I can think of this, is that it's almost like the side quests are almost like episodes of a TV show where you get in, you're given like, you know, the information, and you're involved enough that you're making the choices of the story. Like you're constantly weighing everything that's happening around you. And then you get out and Fallout 3 doesn't reference the tree dude again. But because you were so involved in it, you know, it sticks with you even though you have like 50 hours of games after that.
Right, but I think with a game like Fallout, you're talking about the most, and argue with me if you like, but to me, the side stories in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 were infinitely more interesting than the main story up until the very end of Fallout 3.
Unquestionably true.
And, you know, that's why those games, to me, were acceptable for being a long game like that I was happily putting in over 100 hours in at the time. I couldn't do it now because I just could not wait to see what was in that next settlement, to see what quest I was going to be sent on, because that world was so interesting. And at the time, I felt like I was done with like medieval style RPGs and questing, like go gather these rat pelts and all that.
Right.
Just didn't interest me. But everything in Fallout 3 was interesting. And they came up with such clever ways to make this wasteland and how these people were living, surviving rather, was fascinating. And that's what made that good. I guess the point I'm trying to make, or the question I'm trying to pose here, though, is a story-driven game where the length of it, if it's too long, does it lessen the impact of the finale? Or if it's too short, does that make it not worth it because you didn't have enough time to invest in those characters?
It does, because by the time you get to the end of that game, you're just relieved it's over.
Mm-hmm.
When it's that long and it doesn't grab you. But when you take something that's shorter, you know, like a Gears of War, I guess, you get to the end and you almost wish there was more. You almost wish there was more of the story. You want to see what happens next. But when Horizon ended, I was like, thank God.
Oh man, I
I
feel the complete opposite about Horizon. I wanted more right away.
I was like, let's take a few years off. But to your yeah. To your point of Fallout 3 and 4, though, this kind of existed in an era where the long video game was the exception rather than the rule it is now.
Right, that's true.
You know, and that's probably why I have so much vitriol on the show for long games, is because, you know, when most games were 10 to 12 hours and the occasional game was 60 hours, you could play them all, but you can't play all of these 60-hour games now, and, you know, expect to touch everything. And so many of them look so good. But, you know, I mean, David Koenig, you know, is in step with me here. I played Metro Last Light recently and was so friggin' thankful for it. It was a straight out FPS with no levels and no open world. It told a distinct narrative, went in linear order, and ran about 15 hours. Ah, the glory days. See, like, there definitely has been a shift towards this longer game.
Right.
You know,
we were in the past longing for longer games because they were all 12 to 15 hours. Now we're like, we've had enough. Let's go back to the 12 to 15 hour games.
Well, I think it was just the massive dump of all the long games at once.
Right. And it's so many of them play so similarly. You know, it's go here, check this off the list, get back. Oh, you got a new piece of loot. Like, oh, let's go trade it in. Like, they all just feel so similar.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of, when was the last time we had I guess the Outer Worlds? Like last time we had a major RPG of significant length?
Probably. I can't think of another one.
Yeah.
I mean, Cyberpunk is coming.
Right. Which is starting to win me over, by the way.
Is it really?
The most recent trailer where they showed the different origins, I was like, shit, I might play this.
Oh, speaking of, Witcher 3 is another great example of the side content.
Yeah, that was 5 years ago.
I know.
No, but people love Witcher 3, yes.
And see, I love open world games, but Witcher 3 was definitely one I can't do.
It's too big.
Yeah. See, I'm not going to say that it's too big because I've played games for 200 plus hours.
Yeah, you're talking to the guy that finished Assassin's Creed Odyssey in a week. I mean, it's too big doesn't exist in CB's vocabulary.
Does he just go on vacation from his family? Like, how does that work? That's such a long game.
Just like strapping a monitor to my face and just walk around while I'm talking with them. Like, the problem is, like, I love those types of games, but there was something about The Witcher 3 that just didn't grab me. I don't know what it is. Like, I want to like this game. I like the concept of the character. There's just something about that game that just doesn't click with me.
I ran out of gas after the Baron mission, but
yeah,
I would love to give it another shot sometime.
I keep meaning to go back to Witcher 3 because I do love Witcher 2 quite a bit. But there's something about Witcher 3 being too big.
Yeah,
it's daunting. It's scary when you see that. That's a reason why I have not put any more time into Persona 5. Because I know that even without doing side content, it's over 100 hours to complete that game. That's nuts to me.
Yeah. It's almost, yeah, I don't know. And then competing against video games, right, is like all the movies in the world are TV shows now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like there's so much to consume that,
right.
You know, if you want to pick up Cyberpunk for 80 hours, that's like, well, I've committed to not doing anything else for 80 hours.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you wanted to play it for a review.
Yes. Well, sure. I don't know how that would work.
Can we go back to Aaron's post for just a second? Because there's one thing that he mentioned that I wanted to comment on. He said the story, or 10 to 15 hours for the main story, is perfect for my life and lifestyle. I think that's key, what he said there, is life and lifestyle, what fits for us. For some people, an 80-hour game works for them because they buy 1 or 2 games a year and don't watch a lot of TV or movies. You know, that's what they do for the majority of their time. For me, I kind of fall into that where 80-hour games just aren't my thing anymore because I am constantly bouncing to something different. And I find as I get older, which is weird, I feel it could be the opposite way as I get older, my attention span gets less and less. I need the game to wrap up so I can move on to something else sooner than later.
That's because you have like 14 jobs and 3 businesses.
That's true. I have a lot going on.
I mean, honestly, ironically, without the Gaming Outsider, we probably all have more time for video games.
Oh, yeah. Probably.
I don't know about you guys. I have plenty of time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean.
And I do work for, like, when I'm at my job, I have 48 hours a week, 2 kids, wife, and 3D printing, and a video game collection to manage. I don't know how I find the time either. It's like magic.
When do you just not eat? Maybe that's it. You just don't eat or sleep?
I don't know.
No, he gets one of those burger devices attached to the controller where you just drop a Whopper right in there so like you play the game and just reach down with your mouth. And have you seen those?
I'm not a burger guy, man. If you can find a way to make, like, attach a steak.
that's not a thing people say.
I'm not a burger man.
No, I'm a steak guy.
We're all steak guys.
Yeah.
Also, don't say the word steak on this show.
Steak.
Because
anyway,
I thought it would remind Scott that I owe him a steak, but I guess he doesn't give a damn.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's coming. Why do you think I keep pushing to come back to Rockford? I want my steak. We had a comment also from Sean Iams Fuller before we move on to the next segment here. He says, there's no perfect length. Games like Witcher 3, Mass Effect Andromeda, Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Dragon Age Inquisition were all over 100 hours for me, and I don't want them to end. I got to the 20-hour mark in Ghost of Tsushima and couldn't wait to get it over with. Some smaller games like Tomb Raider, BioShock, and The Last of Us I fall in love with, do every side thing possible, and jump back into a second playthrough right after finishing it.
Okay, I'm going to stop you real quick. Just after you read it. There's somebody that likes Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have it installed and on my home screen on my PS4, and I can't wait to play it in 4 years from now.
Okay.
I just get drunkenly inspired. Someone's got to like it.
I guess so.
Chad loves it. Chad Cusick from our team, he played it for quite a while. That's like all he was playing every night. It was his Rocket League at one point.
Man, because like everybody that I know that loves like the Mass Effect universe, so like that was the final nail in the coffin.
No, yeah, I mean, Mass Effect is the Game of Thrones of video games. Just culturally died so significantly.
I'm with Sean though on BioShock, at least BioShock Infinite. That is the only game in my memory where as soon as the game rolled credits, I immediately started another playthrough. Like right away. Didn't even turn the console off, TV off, anything. Just started another one right away.
Yes,
I wanted more.
I did that with Spider-Man, much to the chagrin of my wife.
Well,
the thwipping noise apparently got to her.
So are there any games that you finished that you felt were just too short or long besides the one we talked about?
No, I don't think there's ever been a game too short.
There's never been a game too short?
Too short? No, because even Portal is 2.5, 3 hours long, but like all it does is just makes you want to. Like, I just want to play it again. Like much to Sean's point, I used to replay games all the time because you could.
Well, because that was your only option to keep playing games.
No, you say that, right? But even back in the day, like I was never at a shortage for video games. You know, even growing up, I knew how to work the GameStop trade system. But for me, one of the great joys is replaying a game because you get to see the narrative a little bit differently, and you're a little bit better at the game and stuff. It's just when the games are so long, and there's just so many games. Right. That when a game is short, I am nothing but happy about it.
Well, and I mean, even talking about, I mentioned Undermine earlier. That's not a story-based game. I'm pretty much doing the same thing over and over and over again. I'm just getting more strategic with it, and I'm bumping my stats. But I'm going to put more hours in that game than almost any other game I've played in the past few months, just because it's fun.
Yeah,
I'm just enjoying my time with it. And I'll keep doing that as long as the game is fun.
I love replaying Sands of Time because I know I can get in and out in 4 hours.
I don't think I've ever actually played a game where I finished it and immediately started another playthrough. Ever.
What does that say about the games you've played? I mean, I know you've adored quite a few games. Like,
I mean,
Last of Us 2, you didn't have any desire to start again?
No, like, I mean, there's been a few that I've gone back later and played through again, but I don't think I've ever had the inclination that once I've finished a game to immediately, even with like New Game Plus, I don't think I've ever actually done that. I mean,
that's interesting. Not even like the old school games? Like you never beat Mario World and then started Mario World over again?
No, because I went on to something else.
Right.
I mean, I definitely have the squirrel problem. So
I don't know. I replay games all the time. I love replaying games.
Well, some of our community had some comments. John Mendiola says, when Force Unleashed 2 came out, I thought it was way too short. Definitely shorter than the first one. I had to mention this one because I completely disagreed. I could not wait for that game to be over.
Because it was so boring?
I was sadly disappointed with that one. I loved the first one, and I just felt underwhelmed by the sequel.
Dude, that final fight against Vader, miserable.
It was annoying, for sure. And Eric Olson says, the first of the Tomb Raider reboots, the whole thing was maybe 15 to 20 hours, and I was left really wanting more. Did I tell you the story of playing the first Tomb Raider reboot?
Well, quick shout out to Eric Olson, who's a champ. All right.
He's a champ?
Yeah, bring up Tomb Raider like this?
Oh, yeah. I had a snow day from school. School was called off when I was I think it was my first year of teaching when I came out. It was my very first snow day. I had never had one since I was a kid. And I went and redboxed Tomb Raider, and I beat it that weekend.
Yeah.
It was
just so
and
good.
I felt the same as Eric. I really wanted to play that game more. That is a game I need to go back and replay, because I don't remember any of the puzzles, anything. I would probably enjoy it just as much as I did the first time.
Yeah, or Rise of the Tomb Raider. Also great.
Yeah, I'm actually in the same camp as Zach, though. I don't really think that there's too many games that I can think of that were too short or too long. I will fight you on Portal, though. I can
think of games that are too long.
No, I can't, because I like the length of games. I don't mind a lengthy game if it's something that I enjoy playing. I don't care how long it is. I'll just keep playing until it's over. I mean, Assassin's Creed, I know you didn't like it. I loved it. Just play, and finished it. But I know that once a game ends, there's something else out there for me to latch onto.
Would you have felt differently about Odyssey if it were half as long?
No, I still would have been okay with it.
Like hypothetically.
I mean, I still would have been okay with it because Odyssey to me felt longer than like Syndicate. Actually, yeah, come to think of it, that is one that I wish was a little shorter, was Syndicate, because I didn't like it. I think that's the only time that I can really say that I wish a game was shorter, is if it's something that I don't like. I mean,
but you finished it, so why'd you keep playing it if you hated it so much?
Because I give all games the benefit of the doubt, man.
Yeah, I used to be the same way. I would finish any game that I started on principle.
Yeah, I mean, if I pay for something, I'm going to finish it. I think the only games that I've never actually finished are the games that I get for free through Game Pass. Because I'm like, I didn't pay for this. I don't like it. I'm going to find something else to play. Because I mean, I
try my best, but sometimes I've played a lot of games, especially ones that we've tried to review here, and it's just I don't want to sit down and dread that I have to play this game. I hate that feeling.
Yeah. To me, it is just there are so many more games coming out so much faster than last generation.
Eat legs.
Dude, I will never forget Elix. Elix, for those out of the know, is a 70+ hour RPG I reviewed for the site.
Your first review, I think.
I think it was the first, yeah. And that's probably why I felt so inclined to like do everything I could. I was doing side quests, doing what I could, and then I gave it like a 3 out of 10 because it was awful.
Actually, I know a game that was way too long, and it's a game that I reviewed. Tour de France.
Made of scare.
Tour de France.
Tour de France. What was I actually going to say before she got interrupted me about Elix is that there are too many games to dread playing one right now. Like there's just, yeah, it did used to be like, well, I guess, Force Unleashed, that's the only game that's going to come out for the next 2 months. But now there's a game coming out every day. So there's just no excuse to play something that's not fun.
That's unfortunate for smaller developers to get their eyes on something because there's so much out there. You almost have to get it on a Game Pass or a...
It's getting to that point.
Mm-hmm.
How many games there are.
I couldn't imagine trying to be a developer right now. I mean, trying to get your little game made.
Even think about just today, Scott, when I sent you that Windbound trailer, how excited we both were. And we hadn't even heard of it. And we get press emails.
Right.
And it comes out Friday.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That ship, by the way, looks awesome. It reminds me of the Trimarine from Waterworld.
Yes.
I have to play that game. And like going back to like what we were talking about with the Touryst, where it just feels relaxing and just not like nothing but bad stuff happening all the time. That just looks like a pleasant game to play.
Right. And it's a Zelda kind of game where you use a spear, which is of course just like Star Fox Adventures Dinosaur Planet. I love that game.
The more I think about this topic, though, I do find that it's easier to like critically look at a movie and find like what you can cut out. For a lot of games, I have problems looking at a game trying to find like what to cut out.
I do wish video games had editors.
They don't?
Not like somebody who comes along and says, "Oh, I see here in this God of War you're going to the Elf realm for 3 hours. Why?" Because if you were writing a book and they went to the Elf area, there's no character development there. It's just a weird side story that is mandatory.
I'm with you because that section of the game was the part where I almost gave up.
There's no point to the overall narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And it
other than just visuals.
It does, yeah, I'll admit it looks cool. But you're right, yeah. Like, see, you almost quit. And if it had an editor like a book does, they would say, "No, cut it. I don't care how much time you spend on it, how much money. It makes the experience lesser."
And you know what's cool is that's a potential moneymaker for some developers too, because just like they do in the movie industry, you can release a director's cut later down the road.
Yeah, exactly. You could.
Why is that not a thing?
See, like, if the God of War didn't have that, I'd probably like it more. I get to the end, I'm like, you know what? I could use some more God of War. That teaser at the end was so cool. They put out a $10 go to Elfheim DLC. You're like, yeah, I'll check that out. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Then you wander around for 3 hours and like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't feel as egregious as other DLC stuff, where I would much rather pay $10 for like an additional 3 hours of content to go to that elf realm like you talked about than a complete side story that feels mildly related to the main story.
Which is again funny in that example, because if it was a side quest, we'd probably all be raving about how in-depth and lengthy it was.
Mm-hmm.
But because it was on the main path, we're like, Jesus, this thing.
Do that. Make it a nice short little game. And then I mean, I know a lot of people will say, oh, this just should have been in the original game and now you're charging us and nickel and diming us. No, just give me the short version and then a director's cut later. Bring director's cuts to video games.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
I'm cool with it.
All right, so last thing I want to ask you guys, let's talk about the price of games. Is that a factor to you when you decide to purchase a game? How long it is? Like how much it costs versus how many hours?
Well, first off, I'm going to jump straight into a listener comment because it hits the nail on the head for me. Sean Coates, the only time I care about game length is typically in relation to how much I paid for the game. Like Battletoads. If Game Pass didn't exist and it was released at full price, I probably would have felt gypped. Then again, because Game Pass exists, price to length ratio isn't an issue. Quasi-free games always feel good, regardless of length.
But let me counter that a bit, because you said the game is what, about 5 hours?
Yeah.
Right? For $20.
That's
so
a steal.
$60 game is 15 hours. We're okay paying $60 for a 15-hour game, but we have a problem paying $20 for a $5 game, or for a 5-hour game?
I don't. Just want to raise my hand there.
We know.
I don't either.
Yeah. I guess the biggest problem with that one is quality. Like with Battletoads, I mean, if I paid $60 for Battletoads, I probably would have been a little annoyed. But luckily,
yeah. But if you think the game is poor quality, then did you really like it?
No, I still like it, but I understand going in that this is the price point that they put it at, because they did not put it at $60.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that this is
I'm not saying they should have, to be clear.
Yeah. But I mean, if there was a game like that for $60, I probably would have, because I've said this before, I would be like, I'd wait till this is probably a budget game or on sale. I tend to say that a lot.
Right.
I mean,
but how much of that is part of just the sheer number of games that are out there? I don't want to pay $60 for this game or $20 for this game right now because I've got a pile of other things here. I got other games coming out that I know I want to play. I'll just wait for this one to come for a sale. It has nothing to do with the quality, just the sheer lack of time to play everything.
Well, I can understand that. I mean, luckily I have all the time I want, I guess. But
for a while.
For a while. For me, price isn't really a problem because I've paid $60 for really short games. Recore wasn't even $60. That was like what, 40?
Mm-hmm.
Also wasn't done, so it's a bad example.
Yeah. God, was Man of Medan $60?
No, those were 40, weren't they?
Man, I'm trying to think of like Until
Uncharted
Dawn.
4 was $60 and 15 hours.
That's true. Well, I mean, Until Dawn was short. I paid $60 for that. I love the heck out of that game.
But I think there's a difference between, and I know where Zach stands on this, right? Zach, hours don't equate to dollars.
No.
Right?
No. Yeah, I agree.
But with a game like Until Dawn, you're paying for production. I mean, there was filming of that, then taking the film and converting that to digital format, and the audio and production. And yes, like you said, it's what, 6 to 8 hour game.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I had a problem paying that. We'll pay.
Well, that's
$10
also
to $15 for a movie. That's 2 hours.
I will always happily pay $60 for a new idea. And Until Dawn at the time was definitely a new idea.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if it's something that grabs my attention, I'm okay with paying $60 regardless of length. If it's something that I'm interested in.
I had no problem. I don't remember if I paid it at the time, but what was it, 1880? What was that 4-hour game that everybody complained about being too short? The Order 1886. That game looked amazing.
See there, and there's another example. Like I paid $60 for that game. It was I was very satisfied. To the $20 example, I'm more inclined to buy a 6-hour game at $20 than it would be a 60-hour game at $20.
Yeah, because you feel like you're getting a deal.
Well, no, I'm saying I would rather pay $20 for the shorter game. The same price, I'd rather buy the shorter game. Just because for me, like length right now, like honestly, the dollar to gameplay ratio, length ratio for me is just like so skewed right now because I'm more inclined to buy a shorter game.
So you'd rather pay more money for less time with a game than the other way around?
I mean, at this point, honestly, like a 40, yeah, I'm probably more inclined to buy a $40 game that's shorter than a $20 game.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want those experiences where I can get in and, you know, get something fresh, hopefully get a good story, get out and move on to something else. There's just so much to experience.
I love that point you made about paying a higher price point for fresh ideas. That is key. I really think that is, because if you're paying $60 for a 70, 80-hour game of the same stuff I've done in every other open world RPG, yes, the team deserves that money, that game may be worth that price. But if it's just the same stuff over and over again and not bringing anything new to the table, I'm with you. I'm more inclined to pay the higher price point for the lower game. You're selling me on it as we're talking. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I want new. So many games right now are just so similar, right? Like
I agree.
Like the superhero example of Suicide Squad, Gotham Knights, and Avengers all being the same kind of game. That's crazy.
I wonder how those developers are feeling right now, by the way, now that those trailers are revealed.
I will say, like I've said on the show before, like a live service game makes a lot of sense for the superhero genre, just because it's, you know, the comic books are the eternal second act, right? They're stories that don't end. It makes a lot of sense for that, but the fact that all three of them are the same way. Plus,
you just got tons of characters for DLC download.
Yeah, especially for Avengers.
Purchasable characters.
Yeah, make that money. My last comment is from Nate Wilcox. Shout out to my boy, now Nate Wilcox. Man, this is tough. I really think it comes down to the game. Red Dead 2 had me bored 2 hours in, and I put it down because it didn't grasp my attention. Hollow Knight is my favorite game, and I've put like 100 hours into it and still want more. Like I said, I think that's really what the game it is, and it can hold your interest. Games like SteamWorld Dig that are 5 hours long are just as fun to me as games like Ghost of Tsushima that are probably closer to 40 hours.
Well said.
Yeah. Not much to add. I mean, well said.
If we did believe in dollar to hour ratio values, Hollow Knight would easily be the best value for your dollar.
Yeah.
That game was $15 at launch. And it's just an insane amount of time to put in that game.
A great example of a game I dug a lot, and then, you know, I was like 12 hours in. I'm like, oh, let's see how long this goes. And I was like, you know what? I don't even want to bother. I didn't finish it. I got 60 more hours to go. No, I'll just play something else. Like it's just draining to see such a big number.
Mm-hmm. Part of getting old, man.
I don't think it is. I think it's just in the media golden age we're in. Has more to do with it than getting old.
That's true. I mean, I've watched a lot of TV in the last few months. I kind of had it as background noise, and there's always something new to watch. There's always something new to play. There's always something new to listen to. You know, we just can't soak it all in while we're doing our jobs.
And the weird shame of it is that so much of it is good.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And that's
so much quality.
That's a weird problem to have.
So,
which is also why I get discouraged when I see a new trailer like the stuff coming out of DC Fandom this week. And a lot of people on social media are just like, well, that sucks. I just, how good does something need to be? And we didn't even see gameplay for the one trailer.
Wait, you're talking about Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it. I mean, my problem with it was like, yes, I already knew you were making this game. What is the point of this?
Well, it got leaked before they wanted to. What's that, CB?
I was gonna say, because we're recording this live, one of our listeners just brought up a point. Another great game for value, Stardew Valley.
Oh yeah, what is that? How much was that game? $20?
If that, I think I bought it for like 10.
I think it's 15 when it launched, but
yeah, it was sub $20.
That dude is
I think Ashley, Josh's wife, has put like 250 hours into that game. It might actually be 500 that she's put into that game.
I know I've put well over 100 into it.
That's a lot of carrots.
And mushrooms. Got to grow the mushrooms.
That game was overwhelming. I did tell you I tried to sit down and play that several months ago, and I just got completely overwhelmed. I just can't do it.
I should get that game for my Switch, man, but I'd never put it down.
Dude, it is the perfect Switch game.
So you could wake up, do your chores before you go and do your life chores.
Or you could just do your chores on the way.
That's right.
It's a portable console.
I feel like the problem with that, I would never read books again.
Oh man, I haven't read a book I haven't even listened to a book this summer.
I just met my reading challenge for the year.
Did you? How many books?
7. I got realistic this year. Because usually I'm like, I'll read 20 books this year when I'm in January. And I get to the end of the year, you're like, well, you read 3. I'm like, ugh, I'm a failure.
I think I'm up to about 10.
How?
Audiobooks, man.
What is this man? Oh, if I counted audiobooks, then I'm probably double that number.
I mean,
but for my reading challenge, I do not count audiobooks.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not saying you didn't read the book. I think I read the books I listened to. It's not the same challenge.
Well, I mean,
I don't want it to be a challenge. I just want to know the story.
Ready Player 2's coming, man. I'll definitely be reading that too. And Will Wheaton's coming back to do the audiobook too.
Oh yeah.
I actually did read that book, the actual physical copy of that book, but I liked it so much I went and got the audiobook as well and re-listened to it.
It's funny. I did that with The Way of Kings and then did not listen to it. Because it's 44 hours. I was like, oh, I read it. All right, yeah.
Kaladin, such a cool character.
God, we gotta read the sequel, don't we? We're not talking about video games anymore.
Apparently, that is going to do it for this topic. That was a fun one. Ironically, it was lengthy.
Yeah.
Although not ironically.
Well, this podcast costs you $0, so you really got your bang for the buck.
That's true. Next week's topic we haven't determined yet, but stay tuned to the socials and we'll get that out there. Thank you to everybody who contributed a comment. We really do appreciate the feedback and the comments there. But that's going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Zach, any parting words before we get out of here?
Hey, I just started a Star Trek adventure.
Ooh.
What's a Star Trek adventure?
I'm finally getting into Star Trek. I mean, I like the Abrams trilogy, he didn't do the third one, but I like those movies quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. I just recently watched the first 2.
That first one's so good.
It is.
The second one is also very good, but Khan was a good guy, so it's confusing. He does nothing. He does nothing wrong in that movie.
Fair enough.
I'm just saying. Anyway,
yeah.
But I just started watching The Next Generation.
Yeah, Encounter at Farpoint.
Encounter, yeah. Look at you're okay. You're big in on this,
dude. I'm a Trek boy.
That was really good, and then they all got drunk in the episode after that. That was fun. I think I'm really gonna like this. Jean-Luc Picard is awesome. Although it was so jarring at first to see Patrick Stewart be a hard ass.
Because he's so nice later on.
Yeah,
his character definitely goes on a journey.
Well, that's good. I would hope so in a TV show. But I just like
the line is drawn here. No further.
When he meets Riker. He's like, oh yeah, first officer, you would question your captain. Like he's all like serious in his face. You're like, dude, you just met this guy. Lighten up.
Well, I always find it funny. He's like, I hate kids.
Yes. Well, yeah. Well, speaking of Will Wheaton, he's in that show.
Yeah, he was super young in that.
Man, I'm actually like super excited for this journey for you. So,
I don't know. I kind of miss. I know it's like 33 years old or whatever, but they don't really make shows like that anymore. Where the camera just like lingers on people while they talk instead of it. I know it's like a weird thing to notice, maybe unless you're on the Hollywood Outsider podcast. But like in movies and TV shows today, they cut every 5 or 10 seconds to a different angle on somebody's face and stuff.
Right.
They don't do that, and I'm like, oh, I like it so much more. It makes me.
What's really funny going through and watching that show, because my wife is actually watching Next Generation, or has been off and on for the past several months, is going through and she'll call me from the next room and be like, look who's in this episode. It'll be some actor that's bigger now than they were when they made a guest appearance on Star Trek.
Oh, that's cool.
So you'll come across people. Some of them you may not even recognize at first.
I believe wasn't like Jeffrey Dean Morgan in that I think he was.
I don't remember that one.
I read that Whoopi Goldberg shows up.
Guinan.
Well, she's a pretty prominent
Oh,
character.
I don't know, Scott.
Oh, okay.
Her
I didn't realize you'd never watched any of it.
No, I've watched exactly 3 episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation in my lifetime.
Her character's
so
name is
good.
Guinan, and she's a bartender.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I'll probably do Discovery just to
I
Stay
assume
current.
you started at season 1. Yes.
yeah, season 1, episode 1. Although the Reddit would have you be like, yeah, you don't really need to watch season 1.
I will.
Yeah, I was gonna say, rest assured that the sets do get better.
Yes.
It looks pretty rough that first season.
So
I
are
generally
you
try to. I'm going to watch them all.
Oh, so you're going to do movies and all the series?
Well, the movies all take place after, don't they? For Next Generation.
Some take place in between, I believe.
Yeah, I think some take place in the middle.
Okay. Well,
Like-
I'm trying to watch it all because I don't like I feel like fans of shows always tell you the first season's not good, or like, oh, only watch these 6 episodes and stuff. But I feel like
Well, you said the same thing about Star Wars, the Clone Wars, to me. So
I said there is, but I know your attention span. In my defense, I know you personally.
I will definitely say I've watched every Star Trek episode except Enterprise. Because Enterprise I didn't like it.
Yeah, I've heard that almost universally.
Yeah, it's no bueno.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'll try to update you guys as it's important, but it's nice. I feel like I haven't had like a show that I've wanted to just tear apart in a while, but I'm getting good vibes from TNG.
nice, man. I may have to join you because I finished up my rewatch of Breaking Bad this week, and I had planned to go through and watch El Camino and then Better Call Saul, but you're making me want to go back and do the Star Trek thing. Kind of take that journey with you.
It seems like a solid starting point.
Just TNG straight into DS9.
Well, I think I'll probably do a couple seasons of TNG, and then I'll probably try to catch up on Discovery before the new season airs so I can feel like a real fan.
Yeah.
Because it's a current one. I don't know if people like that
Well,
one.
there's also
I've heard
Picard.
mixed things. Yeah, well, I can't watch Picard yet.
No, you definitely cannot. But yeah, I will. Don't jump from like TNG to like Voyager and DS9 because there is some continuity,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
especially-
I know what he's talking about.
especially between DS9 and TNG.
Interesting. I would have assumed that every series was like a borderline soft reboot.
No.
No,
Where
yeah,
it's like,
they
it's like, yeah, it's the same storyline, but like, it's 100 years here, 100 years there, or something.
Yeah, DS9.
and then go
is-
watch Orange is the New Black and see Janeway play as a Russian.
fat,
Oh,
fat old Russian chick.
Kate Mulgrew.
Yes.
She's
Captain Janeway.
she's an old god in the Dragon Age franchise, so I like her quite a bit.
Nice. CB, what about you? Anything going on?
Watched all of High Score.
Hey, I watched up to episode 5. I did not finish the whole thing.
It's mildly entertaining.
I learned a lot.
Did
Yeah.
you? That's cool.
Yeah.
I would have figured there was no new information for us.
I was kind of fascinated by how Miss Pac-Man came about. I did not know that history at all.
There's definitely a lot of good for someone who has like devoted their life kind of to retro games. There wasn't a lot of new stuff for me, but there was some. But I think that this is an absolutely perfect series for younger generations to watch, to kind of experience what some of this stuff was like growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I
I would agree with that. I feel like it's a different tone than, say, Video Games the Movie that kind of told the history of video games.
Yes.
This one kind of compartmentalizes each one. Like you'll have an entire episode on fighting games and entire episode on role-playing games. It's also kind of fascinating seeing a guy that we interviewed on the show.
Yeah, Tom Kalinske.
Very prominent. Yeah,
That's cool.
I was watching it with my wife, and I'm like, yeah, we interviewed that guy. That was kind of a cool moment for me.
It really meant a lot to me as well because my son watched it with me, and he's definitely shown more of an interest in retro games now after watching that show. He actually wants me to go get my Apple IIe out of storage so he can play on my original computer, because he wants.
Is that where Ultima was?
Oh god, like that was like the first
Prince of Persia?
Wolfenstein, Prince of Persia, and
Yeah.
he wants to play because he's like, I've never seen this kind of thing before. I'd like to experience it as well.
Show him a floppy disk.
Oh, I've got 5
5.5
1/4.
inch.
So
5 1/4. Crazy. I took a computer class when I was a kid on an Apple IIe. Like, was actually like coding. I could not tell you how I did it or what. I didn't learn anything or nothing. I didn't retain anything, I will say. But I have some good memories of doing that.
yeah.
Anyway, everybody out there, thank you so much for listening. The Gaming Outsider, as a reminder, is produced by Nate Lucas, and all the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemage and Metroid Metal. His website is stemagemusic.com, STEMAGE music.com. Also, if you think about it, keep him in your thoughts. Grant actually had to evacuate where he's living because of the fires out in California right now. So we'll keep you guys updated on his status. Last time I checked, he was safe, and they had to decide which gear to take with them and which gear to keep in the studio. So that had to have been a rough spot for him. But please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Zach Parkerson and Chris Behrensmeyer, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.